Jack had always dreamed of an adventure, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to face. As a seasoned traveler, he was used to seeing beautiful sights, but the wild called him in a way nothing else could. Jack set out alone, equipped with only a backpack, a compass, and a map. The forest he entered was dense and mysterious, with trees that seemed to touch the sky. The first few hours were filled with excitement as he admired the beauty of nature. Birds chirped in the distance, and the sound of a river flowed gently through the woods. Jack walked confidently, trusting his instincts and the knowledge he had gained from years of exploring. However, as the day progressed, the forest grew darker and the terrain more challenging. The sun began to set, casting eerie shadows among the trees. Jack knew he had to find a place to camp before nightfall. He set up his small tent by the river, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep. As he lay in his sleeping bag, he heard strange noises echoing through the forest. A sense of unease crept over him, but he told himself it was just his imagination. The sounds of the wild seemed to grow louder, and Jack struggled to sleep. The next morning, he woke up feeling tired but determined to continue his journey. The map showed that he needed to cross the river to reach the mountain he planned to climb. Jack found a narrow bridge made of wood and vines, swaying gently in the wind. With his heart pounding, he took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge. Halfway across, the bridge creaked and groaned under his weight. Suddenly, one of the ropes snapped, and Jack clung desperately to the remaining rope. Fear shot through him, but he managed to pull himself across to safety. His hands were shaking, but he knew he couldn't turn back now. Jack continued his trek through the forest, his senses heightened by the close call. As he walked, he noticed signs of wildlife, broken branches, animal tracks, and feathers. He realized he was not alone in the forest, but he had to stay alert. The path became steeper, and Jack could feel his muscles burning with every step. By the time he reached the base of the mountain, the sun was high in the sky. He paused for a moment to drink water and catch his breath. The mountain loomed ahead, and Jack knew this would be his greatest challenge. His legs trembled as he began the ascent, but he focused on one step at a time. As he climbed higher, the air grew colder and thinner. Jack's breath became labored, but he refused to give up. The wind howled around him, making it difficult to keep his balance on the narrow path. His determination pushed him forward, even as his body screamed for rest. Jack reached a ledge where he could see the entire forest spread out beneath him. For a moment, he felt a sense of awe and accomplishment. But the climb was far from over, and the summit still seemed impossibly far. Jack continued upward, his hands gripping rocks as he pulled himself higher. Every muscle in his body ached, but he knew the reward would be worth it. Suddenly, a storm rolled in, dark clouds gathering overhead. Rain began to pour down, making the rocks slippery and dangerous. Jack slipped several times, but he managed to catch himself each time. The storm raged around him, lightning flashing in the sky. Jack found a small cave to take shelter and waited for the storm to pass. As he sat there, soaked and exhausted, he questioned why he had taken on this challenge. But deep down, he knew he was testing himself, pushing his limits. The storm eventually passed, leaving the air cool and crisp. Jack emerged from the cave and resumed his climb, feeling more determined than ever. He reached a narrow ridge that led to the summit, his heart racing with anticipation. The final stretch was the hardest, with steep cliffs on either side. Jack's hands were raw from gripping the rocks, but he refused to stop now. He could see the summit just ahead, and with one final push, he pulled himself to the top. Jack stood on the summit, the world stretching out before him. The view was breathtaking, the reward for his perseverance. In that moment, he realized that this journey was more than just a physical challenge. It was a test of his willpower, determination, and resilience. Jack had faced the wild and won, but more importantly, he had faced himself. He had overcome fear, doubt, and exhaustion to achieve his goal. As the sun set behind the mountains, Jack felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. He knew that this experience would stay with him forever, a reminder of his strength. Jack set up his camp on the summit, enjoying the quiet solitude of the wild. The stars above twinkled brightly, and the cool mountain air filled his lungs. He reflected on the challenges he had faced and how they had shaped him. Jack realized that life, much like this journey, was full of obstacles. But with determination and courage, anything was possible. As he lay down to sleep, Jack felt grateful for the opportunity to push himself beyond his limits. The wild had tested him in ways he had never imagined, but he had emerged stronger. Jack knew that he would continue to seek out new challenges and adventures. He had learned that the greatest rewards come from stepping out of one's comfort zone. The wild had taught him lessons that no city or classroom could. Jack smiled as he drifted off to sleep, knowing that tomorrow would bring new adventures. When he woke up the next morning, the sun was rising, casting a golden glow over the mountains. Jack packed up his gear and began the descent, feeling lighter and more at peace. The journey down was easier, but Jack remained cautious and alert. He knew that the wild could be unpredictable, and he respected its power. As he walked through the forest, he felt a deeper connection to nature. The trees, the animals, the river, they were all part of this incredible journey. Jack realized that survival in the wild was not just about physical strength. It was about mental endurance, adaptability, and respect for the environment. The wild had challenged him, but it had also provided him with everything he needed. Jack reached the edge of the forest, where his journey had begun. He looked back at the towering trees and the distant mountains with a sense of pride. The wild had changed him, making him stronger, braver, and more resilient. Jack smiled as he stepped out of the forest, knowing that this was only the beginning. The adventure had ignited a fire within him, a desire to explore even further. Jack knew that he would continue to seek out the unknown, to push himself beyond his limits. The wild had tested him, but it had also revealed his true strength. Jack was no longer just a tourist, he was a survivor, a conqueror of the wild. As he walked towards civilization, Jack felt a sense of fulfillment and joy. The wild had given him a gift, a lesson in perseverance and courage. He knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he could face them with confidence. The wild had taught him to trust in himself and in the journey. Jack looked forward to his next adventure, ready to embrace whatever came his way. The mountains, the rivers, the forests, they were all waiting for him. And Jack knew that he would be ready, stronger, and wiser than before. The wild had become a part of him, and he would carry its lessons with him forever. As Jack walked away from the wild, he felt a sense of peace and purpose. He had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious. The wild had tested him, but Jack had proven that he could survive, thrive, and conquer. Jack smiled as he stepped into the future, ready for whatever adventures awaited him.